With the 5th pick, the Detroit Pistons select Jaden Ivey.
Jaden Ivey on the other end rises and throws it down.
Jaden Ivey putting together one heck of a rookie campaign.
With the 13th pick, Jalen Duren.
Most talented team I've ever been a part of. I think we got a good group for sure.
Cade Cunningham puts it up off the high glass, and he hits another. A new career high for Pistons star Cade Cunningham.
We got some breaking news. Cade Cunningham, he is done for the season. Plans on having season-ending surgery on his left shin.
The Golden State Warriors are moving James Wiseman to the Detroit Pistons. Sadiq Bey is headed to Atlanta.
They're in tank mode.
Dwayne Casey, worst record in the NBA this year, leaving and going upstairs to the front office.
Former Suns head coach Monty Williams has agreed to a mega deal to become their next head coach, north of $70 million, the largest coaching contract in NBA history.
With the 5th pick, the Detroit Pistons select Asar Thompson.
It is a young group in Detroit. You can't win 17, 18 games next year. You've got to show improvement. It's time to move the needle.
It's only upward and onward for the Detroit Pistons, who have a new head coach, fresh young talent, and an eagerness to win that matches any team in the league. Here's Coach Monty Williams on what it's going to take for the Pistons to get things turned around.
There has to be some change. Direction from my part, but certainly change and growth on the players' parts to move this thing in a good direction. And that involves, in my opinion, high-level competition. And we're going to get it in from the start of training camp.
The coaching staff, the culture, the energy is just ready to go. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody coming in, it started with Monty coming in, just bringing that aura of just ready to work and ready to change things around. So, I mean, I think it's definitely everybody's ready to go.
We have a chip on our shoulder. I think everybody's, ready to get out there and prove something, not individually, but prove that, us as a team, as a collective, we're ready to compete and make noise in this league.
Hey everybody, I'm Alan LaForce, joined by the great Isaiah Thomas. It's an honor to be here with you. I can't think of a better person as we go to break down the Detroit Pistons and their season this year.
Well, thank you, and it's always good to work with you and be with you.
Likewise. So how we're going to do this with our team previews is we'll have 3 points to help direct us in breaking down the upcoming season. And it starts with the record-breaking contract that we saw Monty Williams sign, the 6-year, nearly $80 million contract. Why is he worthy of this number, and what are you most looking forward to seeing him do as they transition this team from the worst record in the league upward?
Well, he's worthy because he's a team builder, and he's a foundation builder. And what the Detroit Pistons was looking for is someone to steady the ship. They've been losing for a couple of years, and now you bring in Monty, who's proven he's a winner. And not only is he a winner, he also builds the players. He gives them confidence, but he holds them accountable in terms of their work ethic. Monty brings a great coaching staff with him. He brings a great work ethic. He's got, a budding star on his coaching staff in Jared Jack. And he also has someone that I worked with before in terms of Dan. So Dan, Jared, those guys, they will be all right. But Monty's he's definitely gonna make the Pistons right, and he's definitely moving them in the right direction. And I think he was worthy of the contract.
One of the things we saw with the Phoenix Suns is they had this huge success, 160, and I didn't see that second, but 76, was it? Either way, it's unbelievable win record in Phoenix. Now he has to come to Detroit and rebuild. As a head coach, how difficult is it to switch your mindset, or is it more similar than we think to go from on top to rebuilding?
It's a difficult process because you're used to winning, right?
Yes.
But Monty's a great teacher, so having young players that he's able to shape and mold, I think will what's the word I'm looking for? Energize him in terms of leadership, in terms of teaching. That's what he's known for. That's what he wants to do. But he's also got Cade Cunningham, and to me, Cade is one of the bright stars in this league that's up and coming as a leader. Not only as a leader, but as a team player. You heard in his interview, he didn't talk about the individual. Mm-hmm. He talked about the team, and that's what Monty is all about.
And that brings us to our next topic, which is Cade. Things are going to revolve around his success. He was limited to just the 12 games last season after undergoing the surgery to repair the stress fracture. He seems healthy. He says publicly that he's 100% going into this season. What's the limit for, how high is the ceiling for his development throughout the course of this season, knowing he's so young and so talented?
As a new coach coming into a team, you couldn't ask for a better leader and a better person to work with than Cade Cunningham. I mean, he really knows how to play. Not only does he know how to play, but he understands how to win. And he's not about himself. He's not about the numbers. He's about making sure that the team plays right, defends right, and everybody gets to eat. And when you have a player like that and you have a leader like that, it makes it so much easier. And, you know, I can't say enough great things about Cade. I think he's, you know, again, he will be one of those guys in a couple of years looking down the road. You know, he will be on that Olympic team because he's that kind of leader. He's that type of person.
And you're on the same page with the 2023-2024 GMs who have him as the second most likely player to have a breakout season. So huge expectations for him. To tie in Cade and Monty in Phoenix, Monty truly believed that everyone on his team was his family.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way in a really harsh business that players demand trades constantly, players get cut and released and injured. So to have that bond, but also to be held personally accountable, which I believe Monty is fully capable of doing as well.
Keyword personally accountable, right?
Yes.
And then you got Cade as the leader of the team, who will also hold the players accountable because he himself is that type of person. And when we talk about a breakout year, right? Sometimes breakout years are only defined by how many points you score or how many rebounds you get. But with Cade, I think the breakout year is going to be how many wins in terms of improvement that the Pistons have. That's how we measure Cade Cunningham in Detroit.
No question. Well, our third topic is this sort of blend of experience with youth, which there's a unique combination on this team. The only benefit, really, of having the worst record in the league and not being to the playoffs since 2018-2019 season is you have an opportunity to get some higher up draft picks. You know better than anyone, sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. But over the last couple of years, they've really hit the jackpot.
Yeah,
Talk about the young talent.
Well, they hit the jackpot, and when you talk about Thompson, and then you talk about the trade in terms of getting Wiseman.
Yes.
You got Stewart, first name Isaiah.
That's a win right there.
Yeah. I mean, I love their competitiveness. They have guys that defend, they have toughness, they have character. Troy Weaver's done a great job in terms of drafting players, in terms of trading for players. And when you look at some of these young players that they have, I mean, Dorn was, I think he was a 10th pick, coming out of Memphis. I mean, their ceiling is pretty high in terms of what they all can turn out to be. And I think Monty, again, is the right coach to bring all this young talent together and make it work.
Yeah, no question. Well, Coach, we now want to take this time and we want to pay tribute to former NBA coach Brendan Malone, who passed away at 88 years old. Coach Malone coached in the NBA for nearly 30 years. He most recently was an assistant with the Detroit Pistons in 2016. He was a head coach for the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and is also the father of current Denver Nuggets head coach Michael Malone. And Isaiah, I know you won back-to-back championships together in Detroit. You hired him in Toronto as your first coach, but also your relationship goes a lot deeper than just basketball.
I mean, Brendan has been with me in our family, since I can remember when he first got to Detroit. And a lot of times, the head coach, in terms of Chuck Daly, gets a lot of credit, which he deserved. But those two assistants, in terms of Brendan Malone, Brendan Serve, and Brendan Malone spent a lot of time with me personally, working on my game. You talk about my leadership skills. I mean, he was someone that was with me daily. And when I say daily, I mean daily. And took him to Toronto with me as a head coach. I think every stop that I made, Brendan was with me. Indiana, New York, Toronto. And, we was at his house the other night, speaking with his wife and the rest of the family and just sharing stories. And, I just want to say to Maureen and the family and, my little nephew, Kevin, that, hey, the basketball family is with you. Brendan did a lot for all of us. We all grew up under him, and you know, the last memory, you know, we have together is really being on the cell phone when Coach Malone was winning the championship. Michael Malone was winning the championship in Denver, and I was shooting Brendan, you know, texts. I was videotaping and shooting him texts. So the other night, you know, we're sitting at the house, and Maureen and I are talking, and we're talking about, like, you know, that moment and how big that moment was for all of us to share with. And seeing his son win the championship and then all of us being in the arena, I mean, it was just a wonderful time. And Brendan not only was a wonderful person, a wonderful coach, but he impacted so many of us. And again, you know, the head coaches, they always get the credit. But these assistant coaches who put in the time and the work, Brendan Malone, you know, is really responsible for a lot of the growth that I've had in the NBA. So, you know, shout out to Coach Malone and shout out to the family. We'll all be at the funeral next week, and we'll say goodbye in true bad boy fashion.
Thank you for sharing. He'll get to go out as a proud papa.
Yes.
Not just to his champion son, but
Yeah.
to all of the players that he had an impact on, and you as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Isaiah.
Thank
Well,
you.
the best way to honor him is to win games. You know that.
Yes.
And there's this very special opportunity this season for an in-season tournament, and we want to look at Detroit's schedule for the in-season tournament. When you see the group that they're in, what do you think?
First of all, I look at Atlanta and I look at the 76ers and I'm like, whoa. And then I look at Cleveland, I look at the Pacers, and I'm like, double.
We got
whoa.
this. Yeah.
So I'm like, they got a tough group.
Yeah, Cleveland's really exciting, and I guess
Yeah.
it depends on if the 76ers are going to get James Harden or not, which will determine a lot, but still they have Joel Embiid, so, I mean, yeah, it's an uphill climb for Detroit, but hey, 1 year at a time, right?
Yeah. But I think the Pistons will compete.
And they're over-under on wins. Let's take a look at that right now and see if you agree with this. It's 27.5.
So this is where I always get confused though. This over-under stuff, like 27.5, like, who wins a half a game?
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know, it's one of those things. Over or under, you got to pick.
Over.
Whether you agree with the decimals or not.
Over.
Over 27.5. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
spoken from a true Detroit guy,
Yes.
so not surprising. Well, that's it. We hope we got you ready, and we hope you enjoy the Detroit Pistons.
Detroit
It's only up from here.
back in